Hey, we're back for another episode of Triggering Chaos, and this time we're gonna have all the fun.
Are we?
Yes, because this is gonna be
Are we gonna have
another
all the
fun.
fun?
Oh, so much fun! You know, with all the murder, the
I
screams,
don't
the
know.
horrific destruction of everything in the universe. You know, that kind of fun.
I don't know. You just brought me out. You just brought me out to this parking lot of nothing but cars.
Well, exactly. I mean, how else are we gonna do today's episode? I mean, I could have brought you to this. I mean, I think it's a great place to live.
I think that planet's seen better days.
Well, it
It's
looks
missing
like,
a few chunks.
well, what planet is, and you gotta stop being so judgmental.
I suppose. I guess this place could be more than meets the eye.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are doing Transformers G1, the first season. Well, not the first 3 seasons, but the first cartoon, I should say.
Well, first 4 seasons. We're going to do a very big overview of the original cartoon produced by Sunbow and Marvel, in a sense.
Is it just called G1 for Generation 1?
Yes, it's
Okay,
a
that's what I thought.
retroactive title that was given to it. The title G1 wasn't given until the second toy line came out, where they re-released a whole bunch of the original toys in bright, garish colors and called them Generation 2 Transformers. So, the fan base of Transformers decided, if this is Generation 2, then the first toy line must be Generation 1. And
Makes
anything
sense.
that was advertised in the first generation of toys must also be G1. So the original Sunbow cartoon and the original Marvel comics. We will just be covering the cartoon, but the comics did have some influence on the show. I believe they had the same overall writer for the pilot, or at least the baseline character outline. So while there are a few character differences between the shows, the overall premise is the same between the start of the comic and the start of the cartoon, which is millions and millions of years ago on a futuristic planet where robots are born naturally somehow.
Look, it'll
Two
make sense if you
factions
don't think
started
about
warring
it.
over the planet. Two factions of these species called the Cybertronians started fighting each other for resources and other reasons, but they became the Autobots and the Decepticons. Quick guess which team you're supposed to root for,
Ooh,
based off their names.
the Decepticons.
That's a pretty Decepticon thing to say.
Well, they're upfront about lying to you.
Fair enough. But yes, Autobots got their name because most Autobot toys were based off automobiles. The toy line started when Hasbro bought a bunch of different transforming toys from Japan. And what I mean by a bunch of different ones, I mean they bought some from Bandai, some from Takatomi. Uh, there's just so many random toys they mushed together, which ended up biting them in the ass because we don't have this character here, but there's a character called Skyfire. He's based off a Macross toy. Macross, or as we know in the West, Robotech, got really big, so they couldn't sell his toy for a while or draw him in the cartoon because he's got licensing elsewhere.
Now, the other thing
Hasbro was allowed to sell the toy.
I'd like to bring up, I think it came out later, but Autobot stands for Autonomous Robot. Which one of the things I'm not sure if it's specifically stated in the cartoon. You're gonna have to excuse me because my memory of this is a little shaky. Is that your form depicted your job, and
that was added on later.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the original cartoon's reason for the war, and the first IDW did such a good job. I remember their comics really well, so a lot of my brain kind of jumps back to there.
The war is very vague when the show starts off. Mostly what it's come down to is the Decepticons want to conquer and control, and they are burning through Cybertron's resources very fast. The Autobots are peaceful. They don't want the Decepticons to leave Cybertron and conquer the universe.
So we're going to leave Cybertron.
But as the resources are running... And in fact, they have to leave Cybertron at the start of the show because they're almost completely out of their own resources and they're losing the fight. The Decepticons are mostly made of weapon-based transformations. They're military hardware. The Autobots are largely your sedans, your Volkswagen Beetles, whereas the Decepticons are fighter jets, tanks, guns, a cassette player.
Wait, what? What was
Yeah.
that last one?
So the guns.
No. After that.
Cassette player?
Yes.
Yeah, for well, I'm not going to say the young ones. People know what a cassette player is. You've seen them in movies, and if you watch anything based around the 80s, they're everywhere. He's one of the most popular characters, Soundwave. But yeah, the show starts with the Autobots having to flee Cybertron, their homeworld, to find resources and to maybe come back later and fight again. The leader of the Decepticons is such a vain, I hate you so much, he decides to build his own spaceship and chase after them.
If you could do it, I
They
could do it too.
crash their ship. No, it's more on the lines of, you can't run away, I'm not done beating the shit out of you. So they get into a fight, they board the Autobot ship, but because they're too busy fighting each other, nobody's piloting their ships. And they crash land on Earth and are left in a dormant volcano for millions of years until the volcano comes to life, shakes hard enough, knocks one of the Decepticons over onto the regeneration button that turns the ship's auto repair on, fixes the Decepticon because he's the one who fell in the repair pod. He gets up, looks around, going, "What the fuck happened? What a night I had. Oh, I have the worst hangover. I better wake up my boss."
Man, that's the last time I binge Energon.
The Decepticons get all repaired from their millions of years of sleep and totally not rusted out, fix themselves, and then just leave the Autobots dead on the floor. But they don't double tap. Instead, when they leave, the second in command of the Decepticons shoots the volcano, going, "Ha ha, we live." His boss, "Stop doing that." Why? They can't do anything, but his shooting causes the lead Autobot, Optimus Prime, to fall in the regen booth. He gets up and goes, "Wait, where are we fighting the Decepticons? Where'd they all go? Oh, fuck, I don't like the sounds of this." He wakes up the other Autobots, and then they begin their war in disguise on Earth. They hide about as well as the Ninja Turtles do in their trench coats and trilobies.
Now, the other thing is, I should mention, one of the things that I know this war was the resource that they need is called Energon. Now, what exactly is Energon?
Term.
The show kind of paints it as a source of energy that they can drink, eat, or do whatever they need with, essentially.
Essentially, they have the ability to turn any form of electricity or any fuel or anything that could be seen as a fuel source or energy source on Earth into these glowing cubes of Energon, which, as Soul said, they can eat, drink, throw like bombs. But yeah, what they do is they produce a little cube, well, little by their standards, and then they can just put oil into it and it turns into glowing purple energy. Or stick an outlet in and electricity will turn into glowing purple energy they can just drink later.
So
and they can get drunk off.
So the best way I can put it is purified energy is really the best way I can think to put it.
Which, according to the Autobots and Decepticons, has a taste to it, but they also can just drink crude oil.
So that questions their motivation for taste. But
yeah,
let's meet our brand leader.
These are naturally existing. All right.
Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime has one of those voices that just commands respect.
I unfortunately I think he did pass away. Peter Cullen, it was his name.
No, he is still alive.
Oh, I thought
he's still alive and able to do Optimus Prime.
My mistake. I might be thinking of somebody else then. My apologies. I will double check on that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Optimus?
There are a few of the original characters who have voice actors who have passed away, but Optimus Prime is the first Autobot designed to combat the Decepticons. Most of the other Autobots are just kind of volunteers. He gets an entire episode backstory to himself next season 2. It's a really good episode, in my opinion. But he is the leader you want. He is the perfect leader. He never gives an order he doesn't think his troops could do or he himself wouldn't do. He gives rallying speeches to everyone, and he comes across in G1 as everyone's dad who you do not want to piss off, but he loves his kids. He gives all of his kids respect, but the second someone starts bullying his kids, he throws down.
And
But
I
what I
do
love about
apologize. Peter
G1 is
Cullen is
they're
indeed
not.
alive.
Yeah, what I love about him is he's not afraid to be goofy. This Optimus Prime will tell a couple of puns, a couple of jokes, and then later finds out about Earth sports, and here he is learning how to play basketball. And he is in the middle of a war with the Decepticons, but he also seems to understand that, my troops need some R&R, and I need some R&R. So come on in, Jane, and welcome to this land.
What I also like about
Or is that no way
Optimus
around that, son?
is he's not afraid to be wrong.
No, there are several times he admits mistakes. He
And
is generally an extremely lovable leader.
mm-hmm.
He
has
might come across as too perfect for some people.
The thing about it is, I think the too perfect is one part experience from his constant war with the Decepticons, and one part bravado that he's doing to keep people feeling that they can do it. Like he may not fully believe this, but he believes in his troops and believes they can pull it off. But you also have to remember, in terms of experience, he's probably the most soldier experienced thing on that planet compared to his allies and the humans that he meets, because he's thousands of years old by comparison.
And like I said, but what I do always love about him is that you really do get the impression that when he gives an order, he wishes he was the one doing it instead.
Because it was Optimus Primal.
He hates sending
that said the line, but I will never give an order that I would not follow myself.
Yeah, and it really does feel like that's what this Optimus lives by, to the point where every leader in the Transformer franchise after is still modeled after G1 Optimus Prime. And I'll say this up front. I love G1, but I do not think it is the best thing Transformers has ever done, except for when it comes to Optimus Prime. He is hokey. He is hokey as fuck.
I will say
he is such an 80s cartoon character.
I highly agree with you, Em, but I think for the starting point, this was phenomenal, because you have to start something somewhere.
Yeah. And the thing I love most about him is his actor, Peter, who his older brother was a U.S. Marine. And when he told his brother, I got to play a war hero in the story, and he told his brother, don't be cheesy. Take this with a huge bit of gravitas. And Optimus Prime and Peter Cullen come across as doing that, as respecting actual real people, that war is not glamorous. Because Optimus in this story, he's at his most beloved when he's just talking to his Autobots, when he's talking to the humans. He comes to Earth and immediately respects the human life here because this is their planet. We have dragged them into our war. We must keep the tiny, tiny squishy bags safe.
But he also tiny squishy bags are saving us.
Optimus has a saying: freedom is the right of all sentient beings. The Decepticons are very much of a metallic first. If you're not made of metal, we don't care. Optimus Prime is, if you can think and feel, I don't care what you're made of, you have a right to be free.
And
I'm terribly sorry I dragged you into our conflict. We didn't include the humans here because they're
There's only two real primary humans that ever show up, Spike and Sparkplug, and I'm not making that up. That is their actual names.
Yeah. They're a father and son who the Autobots rescue and befriend, and they teach them the things about Earth, and Optimus respects their information. Like, hey, you guys have the lay of the land. Or, this is how things work on Earth. I did not know that. This could be useful.
And like I said, they're the two primary humans. Spike kind of makes best friends with Bumblebee.
Bumblebee.
If you don't know Bumblebee,
and
are you ready to eat the rock?
Yeah, he's the most popular Transformer, and I have never understood why. Even before he became the annoying radio sound clip character, I've never liked Bumblebee. I've always been a Hot Rod guy.
I kind of like Ironhide.
Yeah, that's the Autobot names you'll find out are just very, very on the nose, and so are the Decepticon names. But they're called Transformers because they can transform. And Optimus Prime has this beautiful truck.
Now, if you're wondering
It
where the
is
trailer comes
aerodynamic
from and
as
where it goes
rock.
when he's not using it, nobody knows. It's a pocket dimension. Don't question it.
Pocket dimension. It can cloak itself. Or my favorite version is what trailer? He's never had a trailer. What are you talking about? What do you mean his trailer just appeared? No, the trailer's always been there. What are you talking about? The trailer has always been there.
But the thing about it is the trailer opens up and there's like extra weapons in there, and then it just kind of vanishes when he
A
transfers
repair
back into
bay
Overlord.
and a little. Yeah. Sometimes it's there if they need it for the plot, but it's there because the toy had it.
Mm-hmm.
And the writers couldn't figure out how to use it every episode. So you'll see it oftentimes detach an Optimus, move slightly off screen, and then just never be seen again until he turns back into a truck and it just reattaches to him. But he is in scale to what a truck would look like. Although you don't often see that style of cab anymore. Which I understand why. Like I said, it's not aerodynamic. That thing wastes fuel like crazy, but I kind of like that flat nose truck.
Well, to be fair, this was back in the 80s, so they were more prevalent back then.
Yeah, they were. And I still see it every now and then, and I've never seen one in real life that's not painted red. Because if you've got that truck and you're still running it, you gotta paint it red.
But for the Decepticons, we have their leader, Megatron.
Yep. In his nice and snazzy suit.
No, behind him.
No, but Megatron is the one. Megatron's the big one in the center, the silverish one. To his left is Starscream. He's the second in command. He's very trustworthy. And standing behind Megatron is Soundwave, the actual second in command. He's the one who turns into a cassette player. Soundwave's voice is so perfect. It's the most robotic of them, and he's known for his catchphrase, Autobots inferior, Decepticons superior.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, next to Megatron, he is the Yep, little cassettes that then turn into like a panther or two little droids or Laserbeak, his little buddy. Rumble is the blue one. I don't care. You can fight me over that. But yeah,
the other one was
Soundwave
named.
is Frenzy. Frenzy the
Frenzy, that was it.
Yeah. Soundwave is basically everyone's favorite Decepticon. I don't know anyone who doesn't love him unless they're a big Starscream fan.
We'll take Soundwave. Let's be grateful it's not
Shockwave. Megatron always came across to me as the most competent of the 80s TV cartoon villains. Like, if you compare his plans to, like, Shredders and Krang's, he's Galaxy Brain compared to the two of them.
That's not hard. Let's not. But
when you compare him to Skeletor, he's at least playing chess while Skeletor's playing checkers.
Just for reference, though, because I do want to point this out because I think it's hilarious. Look how big he is. Look how big Starscream is. This is what Megatron transforms into.
I especially love that he lets Starscream primarily fire him.
But I'm just saying, like,
see, Starscream's whole shit. Yeah, he turns into a gun for the Transformer size. Soundwave can turn into a cassette player that Spike, the human, can fit in his backpack. Which, even by 80 standard, was really small for a cassette player, I believe.
So, transforming can affect your size. So there's a lot of questions here.
They have done so much hand-waving over the years to explain it. The most common term is mass shifting, where they turn all their extra molecules into a parallel universe until they turn. It was just because if he turned into a gun and just fell over on the ground, that would be kind of stupid. So letting his comrades wield it made sense. But if he turned into a gun that he's supposed to be and had 3 of his minions have to lift him up and then fire him that way, that sounds stupid. This may be stupid, but it's fun stupid. Any other size of that gun doesn't feel fun. It just feels stupid.
Well, the funny thing is,
what's hilarious
they would never do this again in the shit series. Megatron just turns into a tank later on.
Yeah, there has been so many issues with his toy form, especially up here in Canada. For a while, it was completely illegal to own any version of Megatron. because he turned into too realistic of a gun. He's based off a gun from the movie The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's such a realistic gun, it's not legal in Canada. So they did things like put an orange cap in him, turn him bright green colors. It just became too much of a hassle. So anytime they do Megatron now, he's either a jet, a tank, or both.
Yeah, triple changes are a thing that'll come up later.
But at least keeping him a weapon of pure war that has no protective values just works. Because Megatron conquers.
That he
does not care. Yeah, but what I love about this trio is Soundwave is the most loyal member of the Decepticons. Megatron is a fairly competent leader, and then there's Starscream, who as soon as Megatron so much as stubs his toe, declares himself the new leader because Megatron's no longer fit for combat. And again, they have done so much hand-waving to explain, why does Megatron keep someone so treacherous and idiotic as his right hand? Usually the explanation is if Starscream can see a...
Good.
If Starscream can see a flaw in this plan, then it's a really dumb plan.
My favorite excuse is you just find Starscream amusing. Like, you were my court jester, bitch.
That honestly could be it. But at several points throughout the show, Megatron makes a mistake or is incapacitated, and Starscream tries to take over, and he is idiot.
Yeah.
But what I do love is even the few times he's in charge, Soundwave still remains second command, so he'll follow Starscream's orders. But the second he can work for Megatron, he goes to Megatron, and he often tells him what the fuck Starscream did, or said, or was planning to do.
Mm-hmm. But let's move on a little bit.
Now, in the very first season, we have these are Autobots. They had a lot more cards to go through for the toy line. So they had Optimus, who's immediate to the next one's Ironhide. Then we have Jazz, Sunstreaker, Sideswipe, Trax, I think, Mirage, Wheeljack, my favorite of the Autobots besides Optimus, Cliffjumper, Prowl, not seen as Bumblebee, but that was your first toy line. So these were your first characters for the first season of Transformers for the Autobots. The Decepticons mostly filled their ranks with different colored variants of Starscream.
I think there was, let's see, there's Starscream,
Skywarp, Thundercracker. Yep. Then there were a bunch that were not named in the original pilot episode. They had Reflector, who could turn into a camera, but he got scrapped by season 2 pretty fast. He was not around very long.
Now, just in case you think them turning into jets and everything gives them an advantage, just for the silliness, they can fly without transforming. All of them.
Yeah, in season 1, everyone could fly, but after a while, it just became a thing only Decepticons could do, and they just forgot the Autobots could. Except for if the Autobot could turn into a flight mode, because this is not the permanent number of Autobots we have. No. Throughout season 1, they make a big deal about these are our resources, these are the troops we have to do a lot of work to make any new ones or anyone to achieve. In season 2, these guys just show up.
Yeah, turn around a second. Where the hell did you all come from?
Some of these guys did have... A few of these guys were in season 1, a few of them had origin episodes, but the vast majority of them, for example, Power Glide, who can turn into a glider plane, just showed up one day. Just season 2, there he is.
I mean, I'm about 90%
Beachcomber shows up one episode, and he... A lot of, like, in season 1, they tried to give an origin to any new member. Season 2, you might have still got an episode starring this character, but it wasn't their origin story. He was just always part of the team.
Yeah. And
yes, for the first 2 seasons, they're all boys. They're even referred to as boys. So they're a gendered species that's monogendered. We do get a lady Transformer in the movie, and then we just have to accept that girls are a thing in the Transformers race, and it's led to a lot of confusion. But honestly, a lot of my favorite Transformers added after G1 are girls.
I mean, I don't mind that they did it. It's just a curiosity of how this works for a species that just kind of boggles my mind. Because
their species at the start of the show don't breed. They just kind of build each other or just show up.
Well, no.
What I'm saying is, in the original, in the original Transformers G1 cartoon, the stork is a probable explanation for where these guys came from, and you can't change mine.
Well, I'm just
Oh, the
saying,
robot
like,
stork brought us.
like the concept of gender we have is pretty much because we have male and female. That's where it started.
Yeah.
Where did it start with these guys too? Like, I just have so many questions.
Like gender and sex are two different things. We have sex because we needed it to make babies, and then we decided to make a whole shtick about, oh, if you have these parts, you are this gender. Why did a bunch of alien robots decide to give themselves genders? They don't have a biological reason to. But when you see the first female Transformer, she is womanly shaped.
Which just raises even further
I don't know.
questions.
Yes. Which is why, for the original G1 cartoon, just turn your brain off. This is just
not worth
80s
it.
cheese at its finest. It's not worth it. It's much more interesting in how later comics and later stories do handle it, but it also is fun to go, why is this the way this is?
Look, if we had to stop and question every little thing this show is going to throw at us, we'd never get anywhere.
No. The other really good thing about G1 Transformers is while it has pretty good animation, pretty good action, pretty good music and whatnot, don't expect it to be very good. It's full of animation flows, duplicate characters. You know, the dead characters being back for one scene, guys having their own voice for some reason, plot points being completely ignored for an episode, or being completely focused and it doesn't make any fucking sense. There are some episodes that are infamous. There's a music episode which makes no fucking sense. I forget the name of the episode. You look it up, it's usually declared the worst episode of Transformers.
I mean, hell, later down the road, we got Robot Zombies. Figure that one out.
We did get Robot Zombies. Yup. It's such... Do not come to Transformers Generations 1 expecting masterpiece quality storytelling. Come here for fun.
Yeah.
Stupid fun.
I mean,
and that's why this... we can't call the show perfect because of that, but we can turn off our... It's the perfect... Turn off your brains, have some popcorn, and watch robots punch each other.
I mean, that
and also, the one thing I will... The Autobots are pretty popular. These guys were built on Earth with dinosaur bones as a base, and they can just build new Autobots, but because they base them off dinosaurs, they're idiots. Because dinosaurs have tiny brains.
But they're robots. And the really weird thing is...
These are probably the most popular...
They have a taste for fish for some reason. No explanation why.
And salami.
Cesium salami. You have to get it right.
Thank you. I couldn't remember. But these are definitely the most popular Autobot toys. They are still beloved by a lot of people. They originally were based off the Diaclone toys in Japan, I think this toy was called.
That one I couldn't tell you, but I still love these guys.
In Diaclone, they had little cockpits and little people to put inside, but when Transformers, they just have these empty cockpits, so it just raises more questions about the toy line. But the Dinobots are really dumb. They're led by the T-Rex, who is standing in the standard 80s T-Rex upright position, and his name is Grimlock. Everyone loved Grimlock. The king!
You want to hear something funny?
Yeah, they have caveman or Hulk speech.
I forget which one it was. I'm terrible with names. But one of them I think his name is Slag, which was a British term for a whore. So they had to change his name later on. I think it was
his name was Slag because Slag is one of those words where depending on what situation it has two meanings. In North America, it's primarily only known for useless metal, like slag metal from when you're smelting something. And he has fire breath. So it actually makes a lot of sense to name a lump of heavy metal, which has fire powers, slag. But when you go across the pond, oops.
And I'm pretty sure it's
It happens sometimes.
God, now I forget the name of his dinosaur now.
Is it Triceratops or the Ankylosaurus?
I think it's the Ankylosaurus.
Because I only remember Swoop, the pterodactyl.
Yeah.
Someone's going to point out pterodactyls aren't dinosaurs. Big whoop. We had a mastodon with the Power Rangers.
Look, you go argue with the
What's that on my
dinosaur.
mind? Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, they were extremely popular. They had a scene. But the thing is, I believe they also started off with only 3 members. Then they got shut down because they were too dangerous, and then the Autobots needed them, and they just had 2 extra members.
Yeah, pretty much. It was Grimlock,
Yeah,
Swoop, and I think the Triceratops.
just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the original one.
And then they added
The original,
the
yeah.
Ankylosaurus and the Bronchiosaurus, which I think is now considered a dinosaur again.
It's not going back. It is now reconsidered a dinosaur because they found another giant long-necked dinosaur who they've never discovered before, rather than combining 2 by mistake.
So, yay?
So he is both inaccurate and accurate at the same time.
Look, I didn't care. I just thought these guys were awesome and were really powerful and dumb as a brick, but you loved them for it.
I was never that big of a fan of the Dinobots, I'll admit. It wasn't until we had a Dinobot named Dinobot that I cared. Yeah, that was a bit confusing. One day we'll cover Beast Wars.
I also want to cover the games. They were really great.
Mm.
Oh,
But yeah.
speaking of dinosaurs, this guy.
Season 3 added a few extra things, including a dinosaur robot the size of a city. In fact, they're called City Formers. This is one of Soul's favorite characters in the franchise, Trypticon. He is a Decepticon city former who turns into a city, a spaceship, and I'm going to say we have Mechagodzilla at home.
No, this is
I wonder why he was your favorite.
Oh, I couldn't say. But yes, that is a full-size castle he just picked up and stole right there.
I forget why he's doing it. There's a lot of really, really dumb plots. And I'm more questioning, how did he pick that whole thing up with the ground like that? The castle's not falling apart in his hands.
Look, just enjoy the giant fighting robots. Don't think.
This is Metroplex, the Autobot equivalent, who turns into a robot rather than a dinosaur, but he goes to city and spaceship. And apparently wrestling is an intergalactic common knowledge.
And apparently Metroplex was just on Earth too.
This is what...
How do we miss that?
Metroplex is top heavy. He turned into a city. You know, that cities just pop up next door. It's a perfect disguise. No one would ever suspect it.
And what happens to the people living inside him when he transforms? They just go squish?
Do they? Oh, I just finished mowing the lawn. Honey, the lawn got up and walked away again.
You say that every time.
Like, I don't want to go to work today. It's all across town. Oh, never mind. The office building just shifted. Now it's next door. Fuck.
Yeah, that just raises further questions.
Yeah. Also, there's no way they're actually the size of cities. They're huge, but there's no way you'd call it a city. It's a hamlet at best.
Well, I'm not going to argue with them because they could shoot me or step on me or poke me.
To be fair, but yeah, this is why you watch Transformers G1 for fun, stupid shit like this. Where else can you actually say my city could beat up your city, and then they get up and fight?
God, that's just
like I know some towns have some harsh sports rivalries, but can you imagine after you lost the big game, your city gets up and picks a fight with the one that just beat yours in hockey or soccer or whatever? Talk about riots being even more extreme when you win, when the city can get up and celebrate with you. Although it would cut down on crime if you go to smash a building and the town just grows ahead and goes, "Hey, don't you deface my stores. That's my butt you're throwing rocks at."
Oh my God. But seriously, I can't find the words for this, but this is just marvelous. Just having the dinosaurs.
Fun.
Yeah, it is. And then we got to this.
And sometimes, you know what? I love this movie. Like, It's probably in my top 20 movies I've ever watched. Largely, that's nostalgia. This is actually, funny story, this is my first experience of Transformers G1. It was often replayed over and over again at different times of the years when I was growing up. You know, every Friday, I think the TV channel had a movie special. Like they'd re-air some old movie they could get the rights to. And Transformers G1 was often aired. And it was aired at just the right time for me to catch it. So I experienced this movie, and even though I had no experience with Transformers, even I was traumatized and cried at one point in this movie where every kid cried.
So just before
Because
we get there,
one,
I do want to bring up one thing,
sure.
because this is one of the major things I have as a kind of a downside to the Transformers. We mentioned that a lot of the Transformers just seem to pop up between seasons 1 and 2. I remember
because they had the reason why they did this is because the second year they had more toys, and you wanted to advertise these toys because, let's face it, G1 is just a toy commercial.
Yeah,
it's a 24 to 28 minute toy commercial. They gave it their all. They made it entertaining toy commercial, but it was there to make little Timmy go to his mom and go, I want a Ratchet toy. I want an Optimus Prime. I want the one that turns into a gun. But eventually, they got to the point where they had too many surplus characters.
Not only that,
these toys were being taken.
It made it a little hard.
These toys were often.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
It made it a little hard to tell where season 1 began and ended, and where season 2 started, where season 3 started. Like, it all, in some regards, did kind of blend together. The only way I knew season 3 was separate is because of the certain characters got replaced. Season 1 and 2 blended together so well most of the time, I couldn't tell you where they started or ended.
Season 3 is post the movie. The movie had a mission besides to get kids into the theaters to watch the movie, buy the tickets, buy the toys. It was to clean house.
Yep.
Because after a couple years, the Prowl toy was no longer on the shelves. The Wheeljack toy was no longer on the shelf. So rather than just silently push these toys away, like how they silently just added characters out of nowhere, a lot of the Transformers, especially on the Autobot side, got gunned down in this movie brutally.
Oh yeah.
Soul's favorite Autobot, Ironhide, died in this movie. He was gunned down by Megatron, and
he went
his
down
last
like a
act
badass,
in the movie
I will say that.
He grabbed Megatron's leg. He's dying. He's leaking oil and energy, and he grabs Megatron's leg and goes, I won't let you get to Earth to hurt the humans, and he gets shot for it. Just stone cold, fire down. Megatron barely looked at him, but he went out swinging. But not every Autobot got that. We never saw what killed Wheeljack. We just saw his corpse, and I loved Wheeljack.
I'm pretty sure it's
when I found out about. We don't know who did though. What Decepticon am I mad at? We just see him dead. I think that's Windcharger next to him. To be fair, I don't know every G1 character. There's too many of them to keep track.
Yeah.
Keep track of your favorites.
Yeah, there is one I know of that's only because he's the one that really made me realize that he just popped out of nowhere, and that was Skylynx. 2 words, mind you.
Yeah, he's a season 3 character. Yeah. But yeah, the movie cleaned house. It also, if it didn't kill a character, it digivolved them.
This is Galvatron. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, that's Megatron.
Megatron almost died in the movie. No, that's Galvatron.
No, that's Megatron.
Megatron digivolved. That's Galvatron. Megatron almost died in the movie, and he got upgraded by the movie's big bad into Galvatron as his herald. And that's what you had to hold your. But this only happened to the Decepticons. Only the Decepticons got upgraded into new characters.
I will say this one, it's only because of Galvatron I knew it was post the movie. If they had kept Megatron, I never would have had a clue. I'm not even lying about that.
Yeah, but Megatron was another character whose toy got discontinued. And so did Optimus Prime's toy got discontinued. So yeah, he dies in the movie, and it's traumatizing as fuck
Oh yeah.
because he gets shot down by Megatron and passes on the leadership to another Transformer who got introduced in this movie because he just shows up because that's not a It's a heart-wrenching speech, a heart-wrenching performance by Peter,
Oh yeah.
and it's traumatizing. And it was so traumatizing that apparently it changed plots of another Hasbro movie, but I know nothing about G.I. Joe. I saw that G.I. Joe movie once when I had a fever as a kid, and I'm still convinced that movie is nothing but my fever dream because I thought the walls were alive in that movie.
They were snakes.
Was everyone a snake in that movie? Because I think there was a lot.
There was.
By the way, I know nothing about GI Joe. It appeals not at all to me. I've tried watching it several times, and it's the worst '80s cartoon of that era, in my opinion. But that's probably because I'm not an American.
But let's meet the makers of this Cybertronians.
See, season 3, we find out that these four-faced motherfuckers built the Cybertronians billions of years ago as luxury robots for combat and just to drive around town. And the ancestors of the Decepticons rebelled, fought, and then just couldn't stop fighting. And that's why they eventually became the Decepticons and tried to take over the world because they couldn't stop fighting, and the Autobots were built for peaceful transportation. And there's a lot
Yeah,
of
like I
questions.
said, don't think about it too
But these
hard.
are called the Quintessons. These are called the Quintessons because they have 4 heads. They are most famous for being in the movie because at one point, 2 of the characters from the movie land on their planet and then get sent to the Quintesson court where they get judged guilty or innocent. Innocent. Feed them to the Shockticons. That has lived rent-free in my head forever. Whenever I hear someone say guilty or innocent, I immediately go, feed him to the Shockticons. So if I ever end up in court, I'm gonna get myself fed to the Shockticons.
Yeah, there's also, if you're wondering where the Sharkticons came from, you're thinking too hard.
Another toy. Just they're not Autobots or
Yeah.
Decepticons. They're just robots that turn into not even sharks, more like piranha.
Mm-hmm.
But to be fair, Sharkticon sounds cooler than Piranhacon.
I should also mention there were a few different flavors of Transformers. Let me just go back for just one real quick second.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Okay, so if you notice, the 2 red and white ones, slightly to the left from the center, they're part of a team called the Aerobots. They were a 5-group team of flight robots that could transform not only into planes each. They could the 5 of them could combine into a bigger robot. They were a combiner.
Yep, these were later sometimes called gestalts because of the German word to combine.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of fan terms with Transformers because what has kept Transformers, especially G1, alive is the fans.
Oh yeah. Now you had a couple of these guys that you also had Bruticus.
That was my favorite. He was a Decepticon one made of various vehicles like a spaceship, a helicopter, a jeep for some reason,
a tank,
a missile platform, and a tank.
Then there was one was the Constructicons? I can't remember that one.
Devastator.
Devastator, that was it.
He was the first. Yeah, Devastator was some green construction vehicles, a crane, a dump truck, a cement mixer, a bulldozer. Yeah.
Then there was also the
construct.
Computicon. I butchered his name.
Computron.
That was it.
Computron.
And he was made when Grimlock got super smart. Then we'll just bring in the 5 other robots so that they could fight Devastator. I'm not even kidding.
It was Predaking. Huh.
Oh, it might have been Predaking. I could be misremember that one of the Yang. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, Predaking was another Decepticon one made of like a hawk or a falcon, a rhino, a lion, Jeez, I forget the rest. Predator was also one of my
Then
favorites.
you had
I think the Decepticons had way
then
better
you also had
results.
triple changes, which much like Metroplex and Tripticon could turn into two other things, either a spaceship or a train.
The first one was Blitzwing was the first one. He was a tank, a plane, and a robot. Astro Train was my favorite. He could turn into a train or a spaceship. Because I don't know, Astro Train just sounds fun to say.
Then you had,
But
like I said,
a lot of the Decepticon.
I mentioned Skylinks.
A lot of the Decepticon Autobot names are. Yeah, he was a spaceship and a lion that could combine into a bird thing. I don't know.
And the thing is, like, specifically, and let me know about this, it's Sky Space Links, because Skylinks is one word with somebody else.
Yes, that's a later Transformer.
I'm like, the fuck? Because that just raises even further questions about why. Couldn't you have come up with another name? And was that always your name? And that just blew my mind that they specifically had to have it 2 words because somebody else already had it as 1 word.
What I told you is there are 2 Transformer characters named Skylinks. The very first one was Sky Space Links, and then when they reused the name, it was 1 word for a different character named Sky. Because that's the other thing Transformers keeps doing, is every time they reboot the franchise, they reuse the same names for brand recognition, and so they can keep the copyright of the names whenever we release the old toys to get more money. But sometimes they do stupid things like that, like put a space in between names that never had space, put a hyphen between names that never had a hyphen.
I mean, I'll give them credit for knowing what they're doing.
Differently so they can. Yes. Hasbro have gotten very good at marketing Transformers and only Transformers. God damn it, they even managed to screw up Power Rangers. Why is Power Rangers on my mind so much?
I don't know. Anyway, so they're dead. We have a new Megatron who's more powerful, now called Galvatron.
Yep.
We have 4.
Who turns into a turret now.
Did these guys appear? I know these guys make an appearance after the movie, but I don't think they're really.
They show up in the actual season 3, where we find out season 3 is that mostly they're the main antagonists. Galvatron's just kind of there, causing his own issues. They show up trying to reconquer the Transformers to get them back because we made you billions of years ago. You belong to us. Didn't they kick your ass?
Shut up.
No.
I don't have an ass. That's not my point. But,
well, we'll kick you in the faces again.
Yeah, so figured this one out. This is
the main antagonist of the movie is Unicron. Seen here towering over the planet Cybertron, because much like the famous Galactus from Marvel, he's a planet eater. He turns into a planet.
Supposedly, this is also, in some iterations, the evil brother to Primus, the god of the Transformers, which will raise even further questions later on.
But in this continuity, a space monkey built him.
Like we said, don't think about it. Just enjoy the giant robots.
Yeah. Later iterations of Transformers have turned him into the mirror god to the Transformers god Primus, who didn't get mentioned much in G1 at all. But Unicron just shows up in the movie, sees a damaged Galvatron, makes him his Herald Galvatron, and then sends him out to destroy the Matrix of Leadership, which Optimus Prime has always been carrying. It's always been there. The Matrix of Leadership, always been there.
Well, to be fair, at least they put it in a convenient place in his chest.
Yeah, which is the only thing that can hurt him, and as the ancient legend foretold, which will light their darkest hour.
So it's a light bulb.
Yeah, but what I absolutely love is when the character Hot Rod opens it up as he's the new chosen one, well, the first chosen one, opens up, it starts making Galvatron explode from the inside because he ate Hot Rod. Yeah, when opening the Matrix of Leadership, Hot Rod matures into Rodimus Prime, the new leader, who is a character who is a very love or hate in the Transformers franchise. I personally think he's a great successor to Optimus Prime. I still think Optimus Prime's a better leader, but I really like Rodimus Prime because a lot of his stories is him magically having been turned into an adult when he was a punk teenager, so he's not used to the maturity he has, the responsibilities. He's still like, can I go back and racing? But he always ends up doing, or at least trying to do, the right thing. Basically, everyone said Optimus Prime was too much of a perfect leader. Here, have a flawed leader. No, we didn't want that. We want Optimus Prime back.
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing I did like about the Matrix of Leadership. It's pretty much just a giant data drive of all the knowledge from Cybertron. Literally, that's all it really is. It's just filled with knowledge.
It's just all the past leaders of the Autobots put their wisdom into it to pass on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And at various points, you can access that information or access the personalities of them. But it's so much raw energy and wisdom that it matured a punk kid into a pretty good leader. I'm not going to say Rodimus is the best leader the Autobots ever had, but anyone who tells you he's the worst leader, no, he's not.
I mean, to be fair,
while he has all this wisdom he can access, he's still not wise himself. He's still learning.
Wisdom does not belie
knowing
intelligence.
Something and no. And also, just because you have access to all this wisdom does not mean you can instantaneously access it.
Yeah, this isn't Shazam, folks.
No. He has to basically dial-up modem internet search his wisdom.
But, so Starscream took over the Decepticons while Megatron's floating in space for a while.
He had a coordination, everything, just like the Decepticons are known yet. For some reason, everyone went along with this. Megatron's injured after their big fight with Optimus Prime at the start of the movie. They throw out all their damaged Decepticons so they have less fuel wastes. Get back to the Cybertron, which they have now conquered because the Autobots gave up the fight for, I don't know. And he gets the Cybertron. It has a coordination complete with complete with trumpet-playing Constructicons who don't have lips to play their trumpets.
I'm surprised they have trumpets. I'm not going to argue sentient beings would have their own type of music. Don't get me wrong.
No, that makes sense.
But why on God's green
they're
earth
clearly
did you
not
take
the collectors.
Trumpets? It feels like, because not only did they copy trumpets from Earth, they had to make bigger trumpets to fit the robots themselves because they're so much bigger. And it's like, didn't you have?
Why do they? They have mouth plates, so no lips. They put the trumpet up to a flat piece of metal, which somehow causes air to blow through it because you get to see the trumpets move like they do in cartoons.
Do they just have little speakers in trumpets and they're faking it?
Which just raises further question. But yeah, Galvatron, upon getting his body repaired, immediately goes back to Cybertron and interrupts the coronation of Starscream, shoots him until he turns blackened, but somehow doesn't damage the cape or the crown, but he does damage Starscream's new shoulder pads. Turns to the dust and basically says,
"All right, made of, make your next robot out of that."
Unfortunately, Galvatron steps and crushes the crown incredibly easily with his foot.
That just raises even further questions. Oh, and so
what the cape was made of? Yeah, that's a plot point for season 3. Even though his toy has been discontinued, even though people were clamoring for the return of Optimus Prime, whose toy was discontinued, Starscream becomes a ghost and haunts people for 3 episodes. I mean, literally haunts and possesses people.
He is so haunting that he even haunted someone in the past, back in the dinosaur age. Which is just bizarre to think about.
God, I love Starscream. I love to hate the fucker.
And I so love, and this is a little off topic, but in the comic books, when the Ghostbusters met the Transformers, the Ghostbusters literally trapped Starscream in one of their containment units. And it was just phenomenal.
But what I love about Starscream the Ghost, it proves that the Autobots and Decepticons have souls.
Funny enough, that was the one thing I never questioned.
But again, why do robots It's fun. I love this show. It's so dumb and fun. There are way better Transformer shows. There are shows that have aged 1,000 times better than G1. But none of them are just this raw. Well, let's just write whatever we want.
But
I feel like there must have been so much cocaine
I will
involved in
never
writing
say this
Transformers
show
Generation
holds
1.
up nowadays.
God, no.
But what I can say is
No.
it's still so much fun to turn my brain off and watch the giant robots go pew pew, bang bang.
There's a few episodes that are just pure racist, though, especially the Middle Easterns, to the point where one of the actors quit because of how racist it was. Casey Kasem, the voice of Scooby, was also several Autobots. When they went to a place called Carbamistan, he quit. No, I'm not saying this show is great. It's, oh my god. Like I said, so much drugs must have been involved in it.
From 1980 to now, a lot's changed. No one's going to deny that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yup.
the audience that originally watched this one probably didn't pick up on that well.
No, it was aimed at little kids who did not know. The problem is they might still retain some of those bad ideas as adults. It happens. Media you watch as a kid will have inputs on you as an adult. Good people will go back and go, shit, that was not okay.
But
because I'm pretty sure there'll be stuff from today that will not age well in 20 or 30 years. But we need to accept that we're going to make mistakes and own up to them.
But here's another thing. It wasn't also, besides the name, it really didn't do overall that much with it besides have the Transformers have another scheme. Or the Decepticons have another scheme. So, yeah, the name was terrible.
It was about oil. And,
I'm not going to argue it.
And some of the acting and voices were terrible. Very bad, stereotypical Middle Eastern voices and art style. But it wasn't the absolute worst racist thing you're ever going to see out there.
But at the same
time,
I'm
still not defending it. Like, yeah, when I rewatch Transformers, I skip that episode every time.
I'm not trying to defend. I'm trying to get to the point that one bad episode is going to happen, regardless of.
No, does not make or break a show, but you still need to call it for when it did that.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're going to praise something, you do also need to point out its flaws. That's my philosophy.
To be fair,
nothing is without.
As we mentioned, that they used the oil to make Energon, it makes sense they would have gone there.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's rich in oil, they would go there.
So, it just was not the best idea on how they handled it. That's all.
Yeah. I'm just tipping my hat to Casey Kasem for being like, nope, this is too far. What also is too far is traumatizing kids with the zombie of Optimus Prime.
This is
the fun too far.
This is one of the things that I was like,
what?
I have feel that this is like a error in the drawing, because his eyes should not look like that.
Yeah.
Like, this is
so one of the Quintesson plans was to steal the Matrix of Leadership, and they built a copy of Optimus Prime who did take it from Rodimus, but then couldn't give it back to the Quintesson because they made too perfect of an Optimus Prime clone. It started doing the right thing. That old chestnut of a story. So it ended up destroying itself to protect the Autobots from destruction. By, I think, piling a ship into the sun. I forget off the top of my head. I just remember this scene just living rent-free in my head.
It's the eyes. It's always the eyes.
It's the eye. Yeah. But what I absolutely love is they did this episode to honor Optimus Prime because they were worried the kids would miss him. You just doubled down on the trauma that these poor kids went through losing their beloved father figure.
Are you feeling, kids? Are you feeling yet?
He's dead for good this time, kids. Oh shit, that's a lot of angry letters from moms and dads.
On the bright side, his eye washer fluid is working.
But at the end of season 3, they undid it. They brought him back, and holy crap, did they bring him back with the whole holy light and everything? He's fucking Jesus. And this has caused a almost reoccurring trend in almost every Transformers show where Optimus Prime dies and then comes back a few episodes later. He has risen. Prime has died for your sins more often than anyone else has. There's gonna be a revolving door in the afterlife where a Prime just walks up to the gods of death and go, "Hey, I'm Optimus Prime. When do I go home?" In 10 minutes.
Great, I can watch my episode of
He must
TMNT.
have so many free Sundays. He must have so many free Sundays.
You know, him and Krillin are best friends.
Oh yeah. Oh, Krillin, what killed you this time? I don't know what killed you this time. I took a bullet for my fellow Autobots. Can you stop being so heroic? This time I died showing on a sandwich. Was it a good sandwich at least? Yeah. Then it wasn't a bad death, my friend. Wow, they're taking a long time to bring us back to life. I know, right?
But here's the funny thing.
It's like schedule poker night for every Thursday.
Like, they brought him back, and then it was just like back to business as usual. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
he immediately took back control of the Autobots. It was an episode about a rage plague where everyone who got touched turned into homicidal monsters. So to protect the matrix of leadership, Rodimus gave it up before he got infected. It went into Optimus Prime. They found a cure inside of it. So he cured everybody, even the Decepticons, because that's just Optimus Prime. He cures everyone. He saves everyone.
Because that's when I learned that everything that there was knowledge. He said the cure for this is knowledge, and just opened it up and cured everybody. Again,
Yep.
Don't think too hard.
I mean, he's not completely wrong. When you understand the world around you, you have less to be mad about. God, I wish people had better educations. Can we just have Optimus Prime shoot the Matrix of Leadership at the entire Earth right now?
Yeah, we could use it.
Or are we too dumb for that to work on us?
Huh?
Knowing our luck, it would just give Godzilla 4 PhDs and nothing else.
Well, he's got 3 already in nuclear physics.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I think G1 Transformers is a lot of fun. It's actually for free on YouTube. If you just look up Hasbro's YouTube page, you can watch almost the entire show for free.
Yeah. And like I said,
it's good fun.
My biggest downside, outside of the Middle East episode, it just, like I said, season 1 and 2 just blended too much together. And the only reason I know what season 3 was because of Galvatron. Like, literally, you could have... If Galvatron had not showed up, they just kept Megatron, I never would have been able to tell.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you'd also be able to tell because season 3 didn't have Optimus Prime for every episode. He was in pretty much every episode of season 1 and 2.
Yeah, but I could also...
Not every episode happened, but like most episodes, he was there.
Yeah, but I could also assume I was watching one of the episodes where he wasn't involved, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah. But the only way you can tell season 3 is if Rodimus and Galvatron are there. Otherwise, you'd think it's just one of the random episodes of season 2 where Prime and Megatron aren't there. There are a few like that. I mean, to be fair, though, season 3 has a slight downgrade in terms of quality of production. I think they changed art studios, but that happened a lot with a lot of shows. It was amazing they had the same studio for the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, but some of it you can just create.
But then we get to season 4.
Oh boy.
Season 4 is 3 episodes, where we introduce the next toy line of the Transformers, the Headmasters, where you have robots that could take their head off, turn the heads into little robots, and put them inside the driver's seat. I'm not kidding. That was the gimmick. That head will turn into a little robot man with bendable leg and bendable arm. Yeah, one of the things I do like to bring up about G1 Transformers, do not expect them to be posable. They are. You're lucky if their legs can bend, because they are focused on the transformation of the toy. Nowadays, Transformer toys actually have articulation, but boy, did they not in G1. But a bunch of Autobots and Decepticons land on an alien planet. In order to make friends with the native aliens, they rip off their heads and turn them into exosuits for the aliens to pilot So the aliens and the Transformers can combine to make the Autobots stronger than if they just had their heads normally.
I don't even. Uh, Go figure.
There's another version of the Headmaster called the Target Master, where the Autobots and Decepticons destroy their guns, turn the guns into exosuits for the aliens or humans, and then the humans can turn back into the guns. So the Autobots and Decepticons now have people inside their guns. That one, for some reason, I can believe makes the guns better at aiming because the gun is now sentient, so it can just aim itself at things. But never, in that case, you really need to take care of your gun then, because then it could just turn completely around and shoot you. It's Megatron all over again.
So they managed to make Megatron, but not make Megatron. Brilliant.
Yep. So this is where the West ended. Japan kept going with the cartoon afterwards. The funny thing is, Transformers in Japan didn't get the movie until several years after the Headmasters started airing in Japan. So they didn't know where Optimus Prime went. They didn't know he was dead for years.
But before we go on, let me just mention something real quick.
Sure.
Overall, for as long as it lasted, this was a phenomenal show. Like you said, it aged in some places very poorly. I will not deny that. It was, as I mentioned,
like I said,
a 30-minute commercial for a toy. No one's going to be able to deny that, but they really tried.
A weekly episode, you had to write 30 minutes for a toy commercial. There's going to be a couple of stinker episodes. I don't care if you have the greatest writing staff in the world. You've got a week to bang out another story.
Mm-hmm. There was a phenomenal amount of plot holes that probably still there that no one's ever going to be able to figure out.
The Transformer fan base are still trying to solve mysteries from G1. Bless them.
But like I said, this was the starting point. It was the start of something interesting, fun, and just enjoyable because it opened up a lot of possibilities. Did it make sense? It didn't have to. This was the point of you just sitting down and enjoying a show.
What I absolutely cannot understand enough about Transformers as a brand is it opened up the imagination of so many kids. So many writers today there's still new Transformer stuff coming out every year. Because while it is a soulless, let's sell toys for Hasbro, the fans own Transformers. Transformers is now being written by people who grew up not just on G1, but on the works of the fans of G1 wrote. We've got several generations now of Transformers fans of, oh, I never watched G1 as a kid, but I watched the show that was based off G1, and that was my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of fan bases are very much of, oh, you didn't watch the original? Well, you're not a real fan. What it seems like Transformers, at least in my experience, is very welcoming to every generation that comes next. Oh, you never watched G1? I recommend it, but what did you watch? Robots in Disguise, the original Robots in Disguise anime? Oh, that was pretty good. I can see why that brought you into the franchise. That's another thing. There are 2 Transformers shows, both called Robots in Disguise. God, that's confusing.
And
thanks, Hasbro.
Along with this, there were 2 other iterations of Transformers that really spark with me. The first one I mentioned earlier was 2 video games, War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. They were 2 phenomenal games that put the war between the Autobots and the Autobots and the Decepticons in a really good light, in my opinion. Especially giving characters some
wish that half the
screen time and story development.
I just wish Megatron had more of a vocabulary than just yelling Dark Energon every 5 minutes in that franchise.
I'll give it that.
But yeah, for me, I mean, it's well performed in also Dark Energon. But yet, for me, the most important Transformers show to me is a direct sequel to G1, Beast Wars, or as we know it in Canada, Beasties, because you weren't allowed to put war in the name of title of a show for kids.
Well, I was gonna say the other
Not
one
making that up.
that really rung with me was the IDW comics, and I think they did a phenomenal job with a lot of it. Because
I think that
one
I
of the
honestly
scenes,
really
I will try.
like this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I will try to put a link into it, but you should also know this scene. Megatron surrendered and was being imprisoned. Optimus goes and has a talk with Megatron, and it's just, he blocks out everybody else from seeing or hearing, and it's just the two of them having a conversation because of the decade-long wars the two of them have been having, and it's such a great scene with the two of them.
Decade? You mean millennia war? No, millennia undersells it. God,
Decade was just the first word
the
that came
two
to
of them have
mind.
done nothing but try and scrap each other.
They
And
did
it's to the
scrap
point where
each other.
they're the only two who can understand each other. Oh yeah, they literally made each other's rubble and had to be rebuilt piece by piece. But yeah, there's so much Transformers out there that you will find something you love. And I am so happy it started from G1 because you can see, while it's faulty and it's a wobbly house, but it's a beautiful wobbly house.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's free. You can look up Hasbro on YouTube and watch, I think, almost the entire first show, like almost all four seasons.
We
I don't
will
know if
have
the movie
to
is
later.
there. Oh, one more thing about the Transformers movie. Do you like 80s hair metal? Because Transformers the movie will make you love hair metal.
But
it also has Weird Al Yankovic, Dare to Be Stupid in it. God bless you, Weird Al. That is how I was introduced to you.
We
Through
will
Dare to Be Stupid and Transformers the movie.
We will definitely have to come back to the Transformers, because one of the phenomenal things that evolved with it, in my opinion, was the relationship between Megatron and Optimus Prime, or should I say Orion Pax.
They have been everything from brothers to arch enemies to, if you ask me, in one cartoon, jaded lovers.
And the IDW...
I'm sorry, Transformers Prime is... I cannot see Transformers Prime as anything besides Megatron and Optimus had a bad breakup, and Megatron will just not get over it.
And like I said, the IDW does such a fantastic job with Megatron and Optimus.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other line that Megatron has in another IDW comic, it doesn't matter if the world sees you as a monster. They're clearly wrong. But what happens when you see yourself as that monster? And it's just simple lines like that they write in there that really conveys a lot about the Transformers, in my opinion. That it went from, hey, watch a show, turn your brain off and enjoy the violence. And especially with Peter Cullen and the way he handled Optimus Prime. It shows how...
Welker, how he originally handled Megatron.
Mm-hmm. It shows how well something like this can truly progress. To show something more than just simple robot violence.
I mean, this is simple robot violence, but the delivery Frank Welker has when he's yelling at Optimus Prime as Megatron, "I'll rip out your optics," is one of those lines that lives forever in my head because Frank Welker sells those eons of hate in Megatron's voice towards Optimus, where the only joy this megalomaniac will ever feel ever again is actually harming Optimus Prime. And just, "I'll rip out your optics" is just, oh, good. And to think, Frank Welker is Scooby-Doo.
But he is literally just the... Optimus Prime started out as a rotting Pax.
Fred. I forget.
And
that's one of my favorite episodes of G1.
Mm-hmm. And because of his actions, someone higher up, I forget who it was, saw something great in him. And when he was to be...
Alpha Trion. I don't know why that name lives in my head.
And when Alpha Trion saw something great in him, he decided to fix him up and make him what he is now. Now, there's other iterations of this, especially if anybody sees the Transformers 1 movie, which is middle ground. I think I got spoiled too much with the... It's a good movie. It gets the point across. But I think I just been spoiled too much with the IDW that it just kind of doesn't have that same punch. but
Mm.
maybe we'll discuss that in another episode. But
But
speaking of giant robots,
yeah.
these guys got some
Oh,
robots.
so that's why Power Rangers on my brain.
Now,
Yeah, I think next time we should just enjoy the colors.
yeah, maybe find a fancy suit or two.
I think we should, on some special occasion, just brighten up the room around us.
I think that'll be marvelous. Good night, everybody.
I think so too.